Never give up. You're about to listen to the DarlaZ, live from the Hollywood Room on the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Award-winning singer-songwriter DarlaZ brings you her special guests who share intimate stories about their lives, how they became successful in their chosen fields, how they learned from their mistakes, and how we can all make a positive difference in the lives of others. Welcome to Live from the Hollywood Room with your host, DarlaZ.
Hi, this is DarlaZ, and I am coming to you live from the Hollywood Room. And I am very excited about my guest that is going to be with us today. Her name is Susan Winter, and she is a relationship expert. And I'm going to let her tell you exactly what her expertise is, because I might have been either too broad or not big enough with that explanation. But welcome very much. Welcome to the show, Susan.
Darla, thank you. This is a thrill for me. I'm excited. Thank you.
I'm excited too, because I have to say that love is very important to me in my life. I write, I'd say 80% of the songs that I write are about love, and then about my husband and when we first met or whatever. And so I'm a big believer in love, as obviously you are. And so let's start at let me figure out what do you call yourself as far as your expertise? What do you tell your audience? Because I know you've got a YouTube channel, you've got a big audience, people tune into you. Do you do weekly shows, or how many shows a week do you do? I know that's a lot of questions.
Okay. First of all, the actual title that I've been using for the last 25 years is relationship expert. Now, I did not give myself
so I was right.
Well, yeah, I didn't give myself that name. I was an author, first-time author that had written a book that became an international bestseller. So I had a lot of press. I didn't have a publicist. I've never had one, but I was on the Today Show, which if you have fans outside the US, they may not know what that is, but it's a morning talk show out of New York City. And I saw in the Chiron behind me, it said, Susan Winter, author, relationship expert. And I'm like, had a relationship, wrote about a dynamic of that relationship, I guess. I'm a relationship expert. So we didn't have the field. This was 2000. We didn't have this term because not as many people needed help in relationships. But when the 21st century hit, it was like everything just went crazy. And I am now in a field, after 25 years of this unexpected field, it is the number one field that everybody's going into because the need is so great to help people to transition through. What do I have? How do I date? Is this a date? They did this. Is that okay? I want this. Is that possible? How do I, so there's a lot going on that's in flux that maybe didn't exist when you met your husband, but we've got a lot of information, but somebody like myself will put out videos on YouTube. I do a weekly show. That's a live show. I have a podcast that I've stripped all the audio from the video, and now I'm starting to do direct questions and answers right into the podcast. Now I'm on every social media site, and I keep writing books and articles. I do a ton of interviews. I do about 7 to 15 interviews a week, unsolicited. So I can't even get them in my website fast enough. So I'm kind of the go-to authority on anything relationship. So I have had a fabulous connection with journalists and all over the world. I have a global audience, which is fun. So I learn about different cultures too, and what love is in different countries. Yeah, so that's it.
Oh, that's super interesting. I've done a couple of TV shows, PBS television specials. One of them was DarlaZ's Love Songs Around the World. So I took like one from maybe Ireland, a love song that I found out about from 325 AD, and rewrote some lyrics to it. But the culture, the differences throughout the world is extremely interesting. And I bet you just love that.
I've had to learn the rules of courtship in Arab countries very conservative Arab countries, more progressive like the Gulf states. Um, my global South clients, my gals that are East Indian, uh, and different religions, so uh, oftentimes we would say, oh, girl, you got to do this and that. And they're like, oh, no, no, I can't be seen in public, because if I'm seen in public with him, we're officially engaged to be married. Or I can't go online. We don't meet online. That's not considered proper. So it's been interesting for me too. There are all sorts of cultures, very conservative, very progressive, and then people want all different kinds of things. People don't want the basic, there's the basic, get married, have kids, the whole thing. And then there's every version there. But you'll find this too, I bet, in your music, that love is such a universal language, as you were talking about in the beginning, that it's the driver of most all the underplot of movies and songs. And I mean, whether it's love of a human, love of a country, love of an ideal, it's love of something that we honor and respect. And music is probably the greatest connector of all cultures.
Yeah.
So you're in an industry where you're serving the world through your voice and your music.
I appreciate that. And the other day when I was so pleased when Paul McCartney's the Beatles Now and Then won a Grammy, and that song was written by John Lennon before he died. And then I don't know if you know the story of it, but it came out later. After he died, Yoko gave it to Paul. They couldn't release it because it had, he played it with his guitar and the TV was on and it had background noises. Well, anyway,
sure.
They just released it, and it's called Now and Then. And you should, if you haven't heard it.
No, I'm so
glad. Listen to it.
This is great. Okay.
Well, and what I love about it is my lyrics are old fashioned because love is old fashioned.
Yeah.
Love is, like you said, love is now, of course, there's different avenues now with the with dating matchmaker sites and stuff like that. There's different, but love is just the core. Love is the same. It's been the same forever. So I was pleased that song, which is similar to something I would write, because it just talks about real love. And I was just really happy that it got released and it's been doing so well. Just, I'm tired of sometimes that pop stuff and all the stuff that is meaningless,
I agree.
or doesn't say what love really is.
Right. That's beautiful.
So, well, and I'm just super excited about thinking about all the different cultures that you examine. And gosh, that could be a whole nother show. So we may revisit that so that I can learn, because I'd love to learn what the different cultures believe throughout the world. I think that's cool. But I want to get to relationships, just because we actually had planned to do a Valentine's Day show. And then I got the flu, my mom got the flu, and I was so sad. But anyway, now I'm alive and ready to rock and roll. But so I want to delve into relationships. So my first question I have is, what, in your opinion, is the most important thing to remember in a relationship?
When you're in one.
And you can define relationship. Yeah. You can define what you consider a relationship before answering it, or maybe it's too broad.
No. I consider a relationship to be an agreement between two people to be together. And they may work out the details of that differently, but it is, for me, I consider that to be a committed relationship. Not all people believe in commitment, but let's say that whatever your agreement is, whether it's marriage, living together, dating, you're my primary, you're one of five, whatever, that the agreement and contract to be together identifies you as a romantic, loving couple. And the most important thing to keep that relationship intact is that both individuals are committed to the same ideal of what that relationship is, the parameters, the design, the expectations, that they're on par with getting there, and they're each willing to be responsible for their participation therein. So it's not a one-sided thing. It's not, I love you more. It's not, I wish you were with me. It's, we're in this together and we're working things out. I think that having two partners interested in growing, learning, participating with each other keeps a relationship alive.
Yes, and I agree with that 100%. Now, I have been married 41 years.
No.
So
Okay, wait. Okay. I'm looking at you.
three.
No.
I was three. You know how you were talking about those other cultures?
No.
I was 3 years old.
No. I thought you were like 28 or 30. I've been looking at your photos, looking at you in social media. No, you blew my mind. I am sorry if you said we've been married 10 years, maybe. Okay. Wow. All right. Love your
But
genetics.
thank you for saying that. But I love Zoom. Zoom is very friendly.
Listen, even with Zoom, there's only so much you can really do. I mean, so no, I'm really shocked. Okay. So I should be asking you. I mean, come on. Mine is theoretical and experiential. Yours is like you've been in the trenches. Oh my goodness.
Well,
so what do you think it is?
I have to say that when we first started out, it was rocky. It always is in the first year. It's rocky because you're learning each other and you're testing your freedoms or whatever. Maybe you don't want to have freedoms and one is or whatever. But when we decided to be serious about the relationship, we made up like principles that we would never break. And like we wanted to put God always in our relationship. Okay. Then that was important to us, that God was always there. We never danced with anybody else. I haven't danced with anybody. That was, we don't go to bars without each other. When we get mad, we don't cuss. Try not to cuss, but you don't say bad, awful things that you can't take back. That hurt to the core.
Yeah.
But that's, that was what I think, I've got a relative that's in a new marriage, and I'm going to tell them to watch this show because I do think that it is important, like you said, that you have a common goal and a common desire to make it work. And that you're in essence treating the relationship as a unit. Right.
And it's a priority. Yes. And it's something that, in longstanding relationships. So I mean, certainly, I think you go past the honeymoon bubble of the physical intimacy and aren't they wonderful? Look at the way their toe curls and look at the way they're snoring. They're snoring so cute. 5 years in, you're like beating your partner over the head with a pillow because like, shut up, so it changes. And some of the initial passion is different, but the roots grow deeper. You know what I mean? I think it takes the fluff and the excitement to get us in there. It's kind of the seductive bait. And then once we're with our partner, the roots grow very deeply. But I think, when I'm telling people, the one fundamental thing that's going to save them, because they're all looking for the silver bullet. How will I never be hurt? How will I know it's the right person? How can I make the right choice? I tell them the same thing over and over again. Find an inherently good human being.
Oh, that's so true.
A human being that lives by a code of behavior for themselves that is correct and good and right, and they couldn't be any other kind of person. You will eliminate 90%, maybe 98% of all your problems. The rest will just be disagreements and negotiations. But you've decided to put God at the center of your relationship. Like that's like taking my design and like kicking it up to the next exponential level. Because now, but what that does innately is funnel the two of you into a common understanding of this is how human beings have a commitment to each other. We are functioning from a standard that is different than whatever these people are doing down there. They can do what they want to do, but this is our level of how we want to play. So I have never yet met a kind, good, thoughtful person of character, integrity, an internal moral compass, the kind that, like, even though they've got a bag in their hand, runs to open up the door for somebody. Like, I've never met one of those people yet who's going to be ghosting you after living with you for 5 years, or, will do something horrible in the relationship. They would rather hurt themselves than hurt you. So if you can find a person who's innately a good human being, it's just going to be so much easier.
Yep, that is exceptional advice, and I totally agree with you. And I'm very fortunate that my husband is a moral man, and I knew that from the very beginning. He was a bit of a playboy, but he was still moral.
Well, you know, when you make a decision, you make a decision and you make a choice, and it's all the information you need to get in your data bank before you know what the one is for you. And I don't believe in the classic the one. I think, you know, there could be a lot of versions of the one. It's just that the person that we decide upon, I think it's best also when you've had a little bit of exposure to the world. You could get lucky right off the bat. That does happen, but it's rare. Nowadays, if you know the difference between the flashy, shiny thing and the real thing, it'll hold you in good stead.
I really think that what you said, Susan, on having the moral compass and having a person that is aligned with you in morality and is a good person is exceptional advice. And if you don't know they are, then don't rush into it, right?
Well, if you're making a decision for a life mate, you want somebody that their behavior is predictable in that they're going
That's
to have your
true.
back, they're safe, they won't compromise. I have my 3 S's. They can't compromise your safety, sanity, or security. That's it. Because
Beautiful.
some people bring into your life, if you're not filtering carefully, or you're young and you're naive and you just don't know. I was naive till about 50, honestly. So I mean, I think I grew up in the Midwest, and I just assumed that people were like and so I was always surprised when they did something that was out of line,
Mhm.
because I thought, what did I do wrong? You know, it took me a while to figure out it's not always me. Sometimes people just have a different agenda. And I think we just need to understand that when we're in partnership, there are going to be a lot of things that come up. And we will need to be able to communicate with somebody who has the wherewithal to be responsible and accountable and listen to us. There's so many factors. There's getting into the right relationship, which is choosing a fine human being with values and life goals, romantic life goals, the same as yours. That's one. Finding that, okay, that's brilliant if you can find it. And then it's like, how did the two of you function as a couple with your dispositions and your personalities? Because you can have all the right intentions, but maybe you've got somebody that's quick to flare at their temper, or you've got somebody who doesn't want to listen, or they're a little stubborn. You know, I don't know. It just has to be dispositionally. I think you have to be a match so that your person doesn't ignite you. They diffuse you if something happens. And that's a skill between the two people. And again, the more you list toward a fine person, they're going to be very attentive and naturally empathetic to your feelings. So they wouldn't be treading on anything and tripping any wires on purpose, certainly.
Well, and I thought of two things while you were talking about that. One is I remember hearing about someone who'd gotten a divorce because the husband kept on putting on the toilet paper wrong. So, instead of having it where it goes
I know.
down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know people.
But
I'm
see,
a like down person. Some people are under. I don't know. I just always I like down. I change it if I'm in somebody's house. I'm just for myself, like on the weekend, or if I go into a hotel, I do it the other way around. Wow. It's
but
never
that
about.
tells you, it tells you that you could have a little thing eat up a relationship because that's silly,
It's not
right?
about that. It's
It's
not
silly.
about that. It's actually that person was so irritated with their husband that was the final thing that showed it. It was the physical, tangible evidence that they're doing things I don't like, but they're a mismatch. That shows opposition. See, so it's code for. Okay, so when I was a little girl, I remember Walter Cronkite in the evening news. So I'm dating
I
myself.
remember
We had a
Walter
black and
Cronkite.
white TV. That's when they actually told you the news, like this happened. That's it. No
And there were
editorializing.
three channels.
Yeah, no
Three
spin.
channels.
Exactly. And there was a divorce, because divorce was kind of rare at that time still. And they profiled it that a man was divorced because his wife told him the reason was that he never put the cap back on the toothpaste. And I mean, I remember being a child and watching this and going, that it just didn't make sense. But as now I understand, that's code for, I have told you 400 times about things that are important to me. They might seem silly, and you can't even do this little tiny thing. So it's never about the toilet paper. It's about what the toilet paper signifies. Like, I got into a fight with my partner about the towels. We call it the towel fight. Okay, completely nuts. But it went from being close to each other to living a long distancing, because I had to move back to New York and he wouldn't come to New York. And I'd come out there, I would do the laundry, I would do all sorts of things to help him. And they were my towels, and I'd come back and there'd be no clean towels. And I'm just like, it wasn't about the towel. So of course he calls his father and he said, we got into a fight. He'd never had a disagreement with the girl. He could see I was upset. And I'm very rational and very calm. But he saw me have a meltdown. And he told his father, the father said, what's the fight about? And he said, a towel. And so, of course, the father says, women are crazy.
Yeah.
But the point was, here we are, committed, monogamous couple. I've got pictures of him on my nightstand. We've traveled the world together. And there are pictures of his ex-girlfriend everywhere in his home. There's not one of me. And I was just like, it started to bother me, you know, and I'd mentioned it before. So it came out with the towels. It had nothing to do with the towels, but this is why men think we're crazy. So I had to explain, it's the fact that I keep wanting a place that I can see here, a place for me. And I mentioned it over and over again, you know, so yeah, that's my confession about the towel fight. So I know it's not about the toilet paper. It's about all
So
this
do you
stuff.
think that, okay, say you really were crazy about this guy and you thought he was the one and he put butterflies in your stomach or whatever. Do you
He
think
wouldn't
that
have
there's
done it.
something that you could have,
No.
huh?
If I was really crazy about a guy and he was that crazy about me, there would have been a picture someplace of me in his home. Not all of his ex-girlfriends prominently displayed everywhere. It's like, wait, do I not?
Yeah, I agree with that
Maybe
100%.
when I'm out, maybe now there's a photo of me.
Yeah.
To irritate the next girl, to keep there was in this relationship, honestly, this was kind of a transitional relationship for me. And it was an underlying, I knew what he was doing. He was trying to control me to make me feel like a little insecure, like I don't really have a foothold. And that, you know, I, of course, eventually I broke up with him because that was just, I could see the undercurrent of what was really happening. But, you know, in a
Yeah.
case like this, I was not well matched, because you have to be able to have these conversations, and then people have to be accountable for what the underlying factors are. So that was not what you have with your husband, therefore not in my life now. Yeah.
So what you got to do if you are having issues with your spouse or partner, then I mean, communication is a huge thing. It's always very important. I always say
Absolutely.
communication is most important,
Absolutely.
but maybe it's to analyze it and make certain that the little things aren't being ruled by some big ugly elephant in the room.
Perfect. So the little things, when women nag, it's because something big is not being attended to. It's because it's easier to say, oh, you moved this the wrong place, you put that back. Listen, there could be people completely controlling that just have to micromanage their partner. That could exist, all right? But for the
Yeah.
most part, it's symbolic of something deeper, or it wouldn't bother you. So there's something else going on. Those are the conversations we have to have. And yet not everybody is versed in how to do so. That's why you are right. Communication is so important to keep a relationship together. Communication is important in the very beginning when you're first starting to date somebody, because you have to be very clear on who you are, what you're looking for, what your ideal is of the romantic model you'd like to be involved in, to make sure that you're a fit for even seeing each other a second time around. And I'm a real proponent of something I call the honesty conversation, ASAP. So if you have any of your viewers or your followers, listeners, who are in the process of meeting and dating and trying to select who could be good for me. I think given today's behavior by many people to ghost, leave you on read, not respond, give you mixed messages, hot and cold, red flags, be in, be out, try and date without being exclusive, all these different things that they're trying to do. I think it's important to have an honesty conversation. It's very simple, something like we're just getting to see each other, and early days are always a little glitchy. I have a philosophy about being honest. I think it's easy for both of us. So let's set a template. I'm comfortable with this. If I'm not into it, I'll just say, hey, listen, this isn't working for me. And I want you to do the same. No, nobody's bad or wrong. I think it's just really easier than us trying to avoid each other or ghost each other. Is that cool with you? Like you could really pare that down. I'm just doing a rough version here. So I think it's important to let your partner know, prospective partner, it's setting the foundation for we can talk, which you have to have that if your relationship's going to move forward. That's how you solve problems. There's no conflict resolution without being able to have the conversations.
So is this expectations of what you want in a relationship is what you consider to be the honesty or behaviors?
Okay, the honesty talk is we can share honestly what we're feeling in initials. I want to introduce it in the beginning of a conversation so that you don't get ghosted, so that somebody doesn't disappear for 2 weeks and pop back up and say to you, hey, what are you doing? And you're like, I thought they didn't like me. Do they like me? What's going on? We shouldn't have to have these things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can set a precedent that honesty is okay, even if I don't like what you're going to say, I appreciate hearing the truth. Then you have just unconsciously allowed this person to be like, oh, wow, so I could actually be myself. And if you give them permission to have these otherwise uncomfortable conversations, you're building that into the fabric of what might be a future relationship. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's great advice.
So,
Mhm.
but we start from the
I do.
beginning, because even if we're just going on a coffee date to just see if we even like them or if they're crazy or like whatever, that then if we think there's a spark there, I think it's worth saying that, because in the beginning there's so many glitchy, like what'll happen is oftentimes guys try to be cool and they can come back from a date and they'll contact me as a client and say, God, I really like her. I'm like, okay, but I got to wait 2 or 3 days. I wanted to ask her out right away. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? They're like, well, I want to, I just want to be cool. She's really smart. She's really beautiful. I'm like, text her and say, I had a great time. I'd love to see you again. They're like, no, 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 no. Because they're so trying to play the game of being nonchalant, elevating their value. Like, I've got a lot of women, you could be one, but a real girl who wants a real relationship will go, you didn't call me in 2 days?
See ya.
I know. And guys think they're being cool and they're going to lose her. I know.
Yes,
I know,
absolutely correct.
this is where guys get it wrong. A girl who's a player, who doesn't know what she wants, she's young, she's starting out, she's having a little nibble from the entire smorgasbord of what's out there. She'll go for that because she'll be like, yeah, oh, he's got a lot going on. He's not needy, because men's greatest fear is to be weak and needy. That's their greatest fear, because they're far more romantic than we are, actually.
Do you believe that you should never go to bed angry if you're in a fight?
It seems a pretty good protocol. Sometimes people really need to simmer down and they might have to sleep in separate rooms until they cool down and can talk to each other. But if you can resolve it, I think the underlying message there, that's the short form. I think the underlying message is, don't let a conflict go unresolved. Try to, if both people can speak rationally, try to get to conflict resolution to keep the love alive. Because one of the major researchers that's done such a great job is John Gottman. He and his wife, the Gottman Institute, and they have a 5-to-1 principle that they talk about, meaning the bottom line is resentments kill love. And resentments are the end result of issues that have not been addressed. It's like the toilet paper, it's like the toothpaste cap, it's whatever it is, the towel. These things have not been addressed, and they compile and they compact. So for every one offense that is hurtful, there need to be 5 positive opposite remedies to keep the relationship in check. Now, if you really start to do the math, you're like, ooh, I'm a good partner, and even I'm a little off here, right? But what it means is that eliminating conflict resolution eliminates resentment. Eliminating resentment means you have a place for love to flourish, because love doesn't flourish when you're resentful, angry, feeling deprioritized, feeling not listened to.
Yes. And
yeah.
I'm so excited, and what I would really love to do is continue to talk to you for and turn this into a 2-part series. So can we keep on going and end it now and then go again for another 30 minutes or 25 minutes?
Love to. I mean, if I can just be off by 20 after, I just have to reset, and I've got a big interview with this guy. I have to ask him. It was the only time he could take it. I didn't want it to be so tight. But
or we could always do another. We could always do another one and just
because I record every Thursday. I only record here. I'm trying to record only here in Arizona because the lighting is so good. I really look like a mugshot from jail with professional lighting in Manhattan. No, if I showed you the photo, you would absolutely. I mean, it's terrifying, terrifying. And then people go, "Oh my God, did you get a facelift? You look so good." And it's just because I've got ambient light all around me. So.
I've got some pretty cool equipment for lighting that I got on Amazon. Was like $35.
Well,
and it's cool.
Whatever you have, I really thought you were late 20s, early 30s. So I'm going to say your lighting beats my lighting any day of the week.
Well, I learned a long time ago about that. So the importance of lighting. So, I mean, I have 20 questions here left. Let me just do a couple more. Then, all right. So, so I know this, Susan, sometimes when you're in a fight, because we were talking about, should you go to bed angry? Should you not go to bed angry? What if you do not think you're wrong but you want to get the fight over with? Yeah. Do you just come in and now my mom she says that you should say, even if I've offended you, I apologize. So she gave herself an out. If I offended you, I apologize. I don't know if that's how to solve it, because you're steadfast. You didn't do anything wrong, but you don't want to fight anymore. So what do you suggest you do with a couple that has that situation?
I kind of like your mom's twist on it. And we got to give her, I mean, she's done 60 some years, right? So I think the thing is, we have to look at why it affects this person. You could know you've done nothing wrong, but they feel aggrieved. And now the question is, again, it's not the thing, it's the thing under the thing. It's really important to explain that. So let's say you were late, 5 minutes late, because you're putting on makeup, you're rushing, you're getting off Zoom, you're doing whatever, but you've done this a number of times, and your partner's ready to go, and they're sitting there like, okay. And they got ready, and what they didn't tell you is they're really excited for this date with you. They're making date time with you, and you're just dawdling, or you're on the phone with your friend, or you're doing something, and you're not paying attention. They could get mad at you and say, you're not on time. So the accusation is, you're not on time. You go, I am on time. You said 6:30, I'm here in time. But what they're looking at is something different. So they've got a story attached to the action, because we fight over an action or inaction, but the story is actually the root cause. So again, this is like the same conversation that we've had about the toilet paper position or the cap on the toothpaste. You've got to find what that trigger did to your partner. And you may have to trace it back. They may not be deeply self-analytical. They might not even like to do this kind of psychology on themselves, but you tripped a wire. And you have to think, what did I trip? Did they somehow, I know I don't disrespect them, but they thought that action was disrespectful. I know I prioritize them. My goodness, they're my husband, but they felt deprioritized. They might have a wound, an original wound from their family of origin, their cultural upbringing, whatever, and you just were walking along and you tripped it. That's why you don't want to say, I'm not, I know I'm not wrong. I didn't do it on purpose. You're having a weird reaction, but we still have to get to why they're having that reaction. And
That's excellent advice.
and to say, look, I'm really sorry, something happened here. And I would and I think you can never go wrong by saying, look, I love you. I would never be doing something to hurt you. So there I know I'm right, because my intention was never to hurt you. But what I need to understand, please, please, please explain this to me so I know what happened inside here. Where
Mm-hmm.
did your mind go? What did that mean to you? What was it that it triggered? Because I have to know that. So what I used to say to partners is, here's my control panel. I used to open it up. Okay, we're in a relationship. You push here, I'm going to have a reaction. Sorry, I'm working on it, but I am. And I will react like this. Don't make me do it. But I know how to do that work. You're not going to get that from a guy. So most
Yeah.
men. So that's what I would have you do. It's a
All
mashup.
right.
Yeah, it's a
I
mashup
think
of your
that's
mind.
excellent. Now, my mom, and I keep on talking about her because she is kind of like my best friend besides my husband. But when she was just met my dad, her her mom and dad were very hard on my father. Then also, I know of couples that have times where their friends get all insulted because you'd rather spend time with your mate. So, how do you handle third party or exterior relationships? Should you prioritize? I mean, what do you do? What's the most important thing? Is that
The
good
most,
enough?
yeah, the most important thing here, I talk about this quite a lot in my work, but the most important thing is the integrity of the unit of the couple. This is the nucleus. This is the center point. The others are periphery. They may hold very important positions, your mother, your father, but they're not with your mate. So you and your mate have to hold together, back each other up, and look as a unit at these individuals and have the same commentary. You have to speak like one person in unison. Say, I love you. Listen, we spend weekends together. That's our only time together. I do that for my relationship. That's my commitment to my husband. Sometimes, if your friends can't see you as much as they want to, my question is, one, are they in a relationship? Two, are they in a happy relationship? Three,
Mhm.
if you
Are they
spend,
worth the relationship?
say what?
Are they worth the relationship?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah. I mean, you got your ride or die partner, and then you've got these peripheral people. And I'm not saying girlfriends aren't important. They are. They're your rock if something happens. I know. And you need to invest time. But you could have, so my father did this. There were no time management courses. My parents were 40 years older than I was. I'm adopted. So, I mean, kids I knew, their parents were 20s when I was in school. Mine were already in their 40s, mid 40s. So, my dad had a thing, like he worked all the time, Monday through Friday, and he oftentimes traveled in foreign travel. Saturday morning was a date with me. He'd play the Barbie doll game or take me to McDonald's. Saturday night, he took my mother out. Normally, Friday night, he took her out, and Saturday night was her time. We also had a caretaker that took care of our horses because we had a lot of land and horses. He would take time to be with the caretaker, take him out for pancakes. And Sunday was a family day or a day with friends. He worked everything out. Everybody got a piece of him. So you can have a backyard barbecue and bring your friends over with their mates or with their friends or whatever and see them there. You can have a special day every 2 weeks where you go out with your girlfriends. But I find that a number one poison, yeah, I use the word poison, that can infiltrate and ruin your relationship is a third party, external family member that starts to put things in your head now for their
Yep.
own agenda. Again,
Yeah.
not for nothing. It's never the thing, it's the thing under the thing. So the question is, why are they so insistent? What is missing in their life? Why do they not understand how important your relationship is to you? Why do they not honor it? Why don't they find another way to do it? Are they jealous?
Yeah.
So these are the questions. A reasonable person, your friend should be your friend. A real friend, you can be away for a month from seeing each other. You see each other, it's like, oh, it's fabulous. So yeah, that's the integrity of the couple. That's the answer to that one.
That's excellent advice. And I agree with you and it goes back to our very, very beginning of this interview when we were talking about you are one person, you are one entity. And that is something you have to always remember, because if you don't and you get fragmented, then it's just going to blow up. It's not going to work. You've got to be the core. And I cannot tell you how pleased I am to talk to you. And I really think I could talk to you all day long.
Thank you, darling.
So I really appreciate you giving me your time for this show. And I really hope that you can come back on and we can talk about, because I would love to do that show with you on the cultures, the different cultures and relationships, and what you've learned worldwide.
It's a little racy. I don't know that I could tell you everything that I've had to learn.
Ooh.
So, well,
I don't know. Racy sounds fun.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about the timbre of your audience. We'll figure that one out. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just make sure my sister doesn't listen to this show.
Okay. Okay.
My mom can handle it.
Okay. Your mom's cool.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you so much, Susan. I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Darla. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
You have been listening to DarlaZ, live from the Hollywood Room on the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Be sure to check out all our shows and download our app at www.bootleggersmusicgroup.com. The Bootleggers Music Group is dedicated to bringing you uplifting, educational, and inspiring shows for the love of God, one tune, and one show at a time. Be sure to visit DarlaZ at www.darlaz.com to learn more about your award-winning host. Thanks for listening to or watching the Bootleggers Music Group Radio. Executive producer, Paul E. Jones.